So the House of Representatives did nothing this week. They are, I won't say they did nothing. They were probably in committees this week, meeting in all the committees. Unfortunately, I can't always find all the committee meeting information that I want because I don't feel we need to know what they do in the committees. Yeah. So a lot of times either the information just doesn't exist or it's extremely sketchy, the information that's even there. So I can't keep up a lot of times. I used to write down when every committee meeting was going to be and what they were going to talk about, and it was crazy because sometimes on a given day there would be 27 committee meetings to try to keep track of. And unfortunately, I would go and look, and there was nothing listed. There's nothing listed about what they talked about, what the topics were. A lot of times in the committees, they have hearings that aren't specifically about a specific topic. They just, yeah, like it's Homeland Security. So they bring in people to talk about Homeland Security. And doesn't have anything to do with an actual bill. It's usually markups that have to do that is where they actually talk about specific bills. But that there's even less information about markups than there are for hearings. So that's really hard to keep track of what they're doing outside of the actual house. But in the actual house this week, they did nothing for that reason. Anyway, so week of June 23rd, that is next week. What I'm looking at what they are planning on talking about. Now, I've heard, I think it was today, that the Senate sent HB1 back, the House Bill 1 back, which is, the big, beautiful piece of bullshit. They sent it back to the House. So they might be working on that next week. But if they start working on legislation, I'm looking at the list of what is on their agenda for next week. The first one I want to talk about is House Bill 260, which is no tax dollars for terrorists. That's the name of the bill. They love to name bills and make them not really mean what they actually are. So this came from Tim Burchett, who's a Republican out of Tennessee. This bill is supposedly designed to punish other governments who choose to help the suffering Afghanistan people. Well, who choose to give money to the Taliban. That's how they put it. That's not what really is happening. It's very misleading. The money is going for humanitarian aid. The Taliban does get their hands on some of it. They're not giving the money to the Taliban. They're giving the money to the starving people. They're giving them food and whatnot. But sometimes the Taliban gets a hold of the money. And so, giving aid is actually about giving money to the Taliban. Yeah, because we know they're going to get some of the money. So obviously, we're giving it to the Taliban. Yeah. Yeah. hmm So, I looked up through the European Commission on the European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations. They were talking about why it is we are helping Afghanistan. And it is because of civil war that's been going on there forever, climate change, and because of the Taliban having taken over in 2021, the Taliban took back over. Because of those things, they have high unemployment. They're crazy in debt. The individual people, I'm not talking about the country of Afghanistan, I'm talking about the people of Afghanistan. They live in poverty. They have unsafe water. They don't have enough food. They don't have health care. And another major problem they have is they have well, what they call most contaminated. They have the most unexploded ordnances or bombs. They have the most unexploded bombs in the world. So kids are out playing in fields and getting blown up because of the bombs. I don't know if anybody's ever watched MASH, and you'd see every now and then a kid would be in the field and they'd be like, hold on, don't move, because they knew there were bombs or booby traps and bombs sitting there. That's it. They have the most number of unexploded bombs anywhere in the world. And we're trying to help them with that. That's what the humanitarian aid is. So, what we're actually giving them is emergency food assistance, health and nutrition, healthcare and nutrition, education in emergencies. So, teaching them how to handle emergencies, not just taking care of them in emergencies, but teaching them how to handle emergencies. Access to clean water, hygiene, sanitation facilities. So, the ability to take a shower, which we all know can really make a difference in your health if you take a shower. They can't do that without help. We're giving protection services, including demining activities. So, getting rid of those unexploded bombs. Uh, yeah, yeah, they're trying to get rid of all that stuff so that the kids can play and so that farmers can try to start growing stuff. You can't really farm if your property is full of ammunition. It's gonna blow you up any moment. It helps with shelter, non-food items. So, women's feminine products, they don't have those. And honestly, the Taliban doesn't care because they don't care about women. Women are just there to make babies. That's it. Period. Keep your mouth shut. Just be here so I can put a baby in you when I feel like it. Yeah. And to help them learn disaster preparedness, so they can be ready before bad things happen. So that's one of the things they're going to be looking at next week. If you want, get a hold of your personal representatives and tell them how you feel about this bill and whether you think we should be helping or not helping, whether we should be giving money to the terrorists or not. So yeah, thanks. If you got all the way through this, thanks. If you like, share, subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And have a day that matters.